Did you catch that in the scriptures that Jesus was telling those early disciples that you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth? And when we went to Costa Rica, I was thinking that that was our role, that we were to be witnesses to God's hope and what God was going to do in our world and trust. And I think one of the key things I learned was also they were going to witness to me of what God is doing in our world, in Costa Rica, and people's lives that I could never do. I could never do. Can you go progress now through? So this was some of the craft supplies that you guys helped provide. The kids getting ready to on our adventure to go out. This is when we arrived in Costa Rica. Okay, stop there. So our first day, Monday, it's hard to believe all that we did in 1 week. It was incredible. We went to this high-risk area, and you could see it's kind of shanty-type housing built up on the hill, made with whatever construction supplies they could gather together. And in the middle of it is that blue building there. You see that blue building. And it was called Esperanza, which I think is word for hope. And there we kind of got out of our van, went into there, and we were going to help them with this kids club that they do. So a lot of the times, Costa Rican kids, they have a break for lunchtime, and they provide in the schools. A lot of times, they'll provide meals for them. And this time they come to this kids club to get their meal, a healthy meal provided for them. And so they came to this kids club, and you can go through some. And so we started interacting with the kids. This was a child who was swinging a baseball bat, which I was so happy to see because every other kid does what in Costa Rica plays the soccer ball. And he wanted to learn. And so we helped prepare a meal there. And then we started to do a program. You could stop there. You see the man in the blue shirt. I can't even remember his name. Do you? Can't hear. You guys speak. Hugo? Is that correct? Hugo. His name is Hugo. And he gathered us together to kind of share, that he was a volunteer himself. And he was the one that started this ministry, Esperanza of Hope, in this area where there was a lot of, gangs and a lot of trouble and struggle. And so he sat us down to kind of, after we were playing and everything, to share his story, which was not the kind of story that you would just usually want to hear. He said that his mother was a teenager and was raped by his father, and so he had a very harsh upbringing, and he bounced around from all over the place. And it wasn't until someone really started to show God's love to him that he actually believed in God, loved him. So much so that he became a Christian, and his heart then was to bring hope to kids that could be going through the same situation as him. And so he runs this ministry here. There was about 100 people there in that little room there. And with kids, and there was he doing this weekly, daily, and I think he does it a couple times a week, and he does kid program, does some songs with them. They even do the chicken dance in Spanish, and just as much as we do in our, and I think right now, I can't remember what song I'm doing with the kids, but really, he said something to me that really I learned and struggled. Really, that's very important as far as vision and mission. is he said, when I work with these people, I can't just tell them that God loves them. Because so many of them have been through such hardship that they won't believe it. I have to be tangible. I have to show them God's love. And once I show them long enough, then I could say it. And that really impacted me, and for us as a congregation too, that it's very easy for someone to stand up here and say, God loves you. But we know the best way, and I think Scripture says too, God showed his love to us by giving Christ dying for us. And we have to be willing to, in mission and sharing. I was just once struck again. I'm sure it's nice for some Canadians to go across the world and go in and say, God loves you. But to show them God's love is a different, all different thing together. We're planning on, of the 750 US that we brought, to give them about 300 of that money to just support their lunches. And that'll go a long way. And that's a good feeling to know that here's this man, Hugo, who's dedicating to helping these families and kids. So it wasn't just kids that in this children's club. These moms came along too, and we had enough food for each of them. So there's Josh serving. That's kind of a view of what the shanties kind of look from outside the Esperanza there. This is kind of the base. This is our view from the base where we were at. So the other role that we did the next day is they have a school of sustainable development, they call it. They have a lot of greenhouse type places at the base there, and we were able to use some of our money to help pay for some of the food. I was thinking that here we come with our money and we're going to buy food and help them, and they're poor missionaries, right? They need help and support. In fact, the organization we met with is YWAM, Youth with a Mission. And every YWAM missionary raises their own financial support from the head down to the lowest entry-level missionary. They all do. So they all understand what it means to have people provide for their needs and God provide. So you go ahead and that's aloe vera, which we think is fun to have, but for them, it's a necessity for burns and stuff to use with people. Go on to move on. There's a little pineapple growing. Okay, go to the next one and stop there. So one of the things they do is we're thinking we're helping them, but we don't realize that in Costa Rica, one of the great things about Costa Rica is that it's warm year-round. So it is a great place for them to be able to learn about different techniques to feed the world. Because they don't have to wait for summer to plant the crops. They can do it year-round, and they can see what techniques work really well. This is called aquaponics. So what it is those are lettuce plants in little gravel cups that are kind of like that are gravel cups, and you see the foam, styrofoam there, and then there's water underneath that, a pool of water. You don't see it, but to the left you see like kind of a brown-looking tank. In that tank are fish. And what aquaponics works with is the fish poop comes into the water. I don't know all the science, but the nitrates become nitrites, either one way or the other, feeds the plants. And then the plants give off the nitrates, the opposite, which feed the fish. And they feed each other. So they've learned to use this technique in areas of the world where you don't have very good soil. How could you grow crops? And so then they get two things here. They get fish, that could be a high source of protein for the people, and then they can grow plants in that water to help them have vegetables. So that was a key eye-opener for me, is I suddenly felt like we were a part of something much bigger than I thought we were going to be a part of. And as Christians, we need to remember that they were actually, this group that was in the school was going in a week or two to Africa, Malawi, which our denomination supports a lot of, Malawi, and we've talked about that, to use some of these techniques to help those people learn to be able to sustainable development. So it was really exciting for us. You can progress through. So this is their outdoor garden. I can't even see what that one really. My wife. Zach with some. Then we also kind of just were helping them out as well. So this is the road up that was just built, and we just were helping. We paid for some gravel to put on the side of it, so the road. One of the kids we're just really excited about was bananas. Stop there a second, I'll speak of that. The fruit there was incredible. Just fresh, and the vegetables fresh too. Just made me excited for summer coming. And those tomato plants that Don has, it's like, to be able to eat garden fresh tomatoes year round is just amazing when you think about it. But I just really also, this whole sustainable part is Costa Rica as a country is 25% of its land is protected. A quarter of its land is protected. And I think we might think, that was people with great vision. I think that was God's vision for the country, to help them see their role in how is this creation supposed to work, how is science supposed to work, and sustainable development. One of the other things they've done as well, and if you know me, is suddenly I came to the base there, not knowing, but they had a clay oven there. And you guys all know how I love to cook pizza, and I've been actually, the week before I left, I had a book out that they had to get from some library in Timbuktu, Canada, because our library doesn't have it, on how to build your own pizza outdoor oven, clay oven. And they had one. So I said, as soon as we were there, I said, Friday night, can I make pizza for the base and all the missionaries there? And they were like, oh yeah. So that's us making the fire in the clay oven. Can you move on? Pardon? Was it chickens? Can you gotta turn the lights down so I can see a little bit stuff, please. My boys got to be boys with machetes, and they were cutting down sugar cane. And we might think, what are they going to do with that? Make some own sugar. But what they use the sugar cane is they have a goat. The goat loves sugar cane. And what they like the goat for, honestly, is the goat has good poop. And it's great fertilizer for the soils. So it's just that understanding of all that, how would you help people in a different context than going to the Home Depot and buying fertilizer, or home hardware, buying fertilizer, they learning and understanding how all these different things work together. This was the cabin that we stayed in. This is one of the houses that there are very simple, but they're very clean and just kind of beautiful. Some of them very quaint. So next day, we went to a local school. And like I said, at their school, they typically will feed their kids lunch. One of the problems in Costa Rican schools or culture is they have a lot of rice, beans, and meat, and they're really working on the kids having more vegetables. So the YWAM base is working with the school there to do a greenhouse there with vegetables. And so there's the greenhouse with the fruits and vegetables. And we helped plant some lettuce that we bought all in there. And the kids were making planters painting old tires that they were recycling and using as planters. This is a compost bin that we built. That's where we ate. What is this game called? Gaga Ball or something. It's actually very popular in Canada. And so some Canadian people had come from Vancouver Island and come there and built one of those to introduce that to people. This is Kenneth and Elaine, the missionaries that we were friends with and support. Just an idea of what those trees are like there when they grow year-round. So with this pizza oven, we knew that to make good pizza in a pizza oven, we need a pizza peeler. And they had a wonderful workshop there with wood, and so Seth and I worked and made a pizza peeler. Isn't that beautiful wood? And there's the clay oven. They're getting it all hot, ready to go. And I hope you can see that. But now we're actually cooking pizzas in the clay oven. I didn't realize, as I was making it, I had a glove on my left hand with the pizza, and sometimes I'd reach in with my hand into the pizza oven. At first I didn't realize, but then later it looked like I had a sunburn. I was burned. It got so hot in there, about 600 degrees. We had some fun while we were there as well. We got to play basketball one night. Can you stop here? This is, I don't know how well you can see that, but it looks like it goes about 1 kilometer at least down the road there. That's their vegetable and fruit market on Saturday morning. Just goes on and on. It's amazing. It was amazing. Can you go to the next one? There's some of the market, we think we're happy to get pineapples for like $3-4. They're like 2 for $1, and they're huge. It was just amazing to be there. There's mangoes. They're not just little mangoes either. They're almost size of a cantaloupe. They're just big. Kids got to have coconut water. Some mixed reactions on that one. Coconut water. There's some of their corn. And some of the fruit was really tasty. Others, like star fruit, wasn't so much enjoyed. I don't know what that's called, but it was really good. It looked like it's some kind of bean in there, but it's a fruit, a grape like fruit. So our last day, after spending some time at the school and helping around the base, we got to go to kind of a fun day to explore the culture, and we got to a wildlife conservatory. And so we got to see some amazing animal Costa Ricans. Can you stop there? That's the bamboo. I hate to say it, but that picture does not do it justice because it's half cut off. It was so high up that it's hanging down at noise. And so you can see the size of the kids. And it's literally this thick. So they use it in building a lot, especially in the jungle areas. What grade of wood that grows fast is very sustainable. But Costa Rica is the other hardwoods in the woods, like cypress and woods that are so available there. It's very they don't necessarily need to use bamboo, but they do use it. Other countries it would be more important without the rainforest and all that. That's a tapir. I don't know if it's considered an anteater or it's like a mixture. So in Costa Rica, if you go to the beach and you're going to leave food on your picnic table at the beach, you better watch out because monkeys come down. We had a blue-crowned motmot on the base there. Beautiful bird. It's like blue with a blue tail, and it's got a weird-looking tail, like with a feather hanging on it. So we just took this picture of the sign so that we could remember the name of it because there was a pair of them at the base. The kids got to swim in the Pacific bathwater, I like to say. It was literally that warm water inside the beach area. around there. That's just kind of looking in from the ocean. That's the picture of the base. Can you just hold here? I never thought I would say this, but driving on the 401 in downtown Toronto after our flight coming home was relaxing. Costa Rica driving is a free-for-all kind of, it teaches you to pray. It teaches you to pray. Motorcycles go in and out. If it's a traffic jam, motorcycles just go right up to the front. And the roads are, as my son said, we build our houses around our roads. They build their roads around the houses there. So they just got the houses everywhere, and the roads just go in between them. And they go in and through. And so it was just an experience. I'm so glad that I didn't have to drive, that Kenneth, our missionary, drove us everywhere because of that. There's a picture of Kenneth that he had of him and I when I was last there over 20 years ago. And we built a playground in the jungle together. Josh got to celebrate. We got a cake for him for his birthday on Sunday night. And there's us as a family in front of the beach. Really, one of the key things I learned, to kind of wrap up, is that we play only a minor part. But in God's hand, this witness goes to the ends of the earth. You and I might not be able to go to a country like Costa Rica and know Spanish fluently, help the culture. But there are Christians who are there. There are Christians there. And we can support them in their work. There was Christians from the U.S. There was Christians from Mexico. There was Christians from Costa Rica that we met, that were going to the ends of the earth as witnesses. And we got to play a part. And sometimes that can be discouraging when you're off there on the front lines, we like to say, by yourself, feeling discouraged. We took one of the missionary girls, who was about 36 years old, out for ice cream that night, and something she said really impacted me. She said, "Thank you for including me as part of your family." And I could just tell that it meant something. We just took her out for ice cream. That's something we do all the time, but for her, it was a piece of home, in a sense. Something that she probably did with her family, and it meant a lot to her. We also went to church there in Costa Rica, and quite different church than what my children were used to, which is good. It's good to experience something like that. But the message of the pastors, was part of it was her testimony and their testimony, and how her and her husband were both communists. He was a communist philosophy professor. You get that. And how she became a Christian, and then she started taking her children at the time to church, and people were praying for her and praying for him, and he went to investigate where he was taking her, right? And then he became a Christian. And what impacted me was, what did I do to ever change their life? Nothing. But Christ was working in all the world. To the ends of the earth, He is witnessing, and He is calling forth witnesses of His love and mercy all over our world. And I just sit in awe that we, as Christians, can be a part of the good work that God is doing in the world. It's very interesting with the whole sustainable development that when I got back here, I got a phone call again from Adam Oliver, our co-op here, just saying, is there a way, we had mentioned that maybe St. Paul's would like to help create a garden here for our people to create, And after what we went through and working at, I saw, it seems to be God's leading us in the same way. So I want you to pray for a meeting that I will have with the people at Oliver on Tuesday to see what is God's vision now, how we can play a role in our community to be able to help people understand God's love, be witnesses to God's love, not by just telling them, but by showing them in practical ways. Let's pray.